as a entrepreneur, does it matter to you if the ecosystem can be relocated? Let's say create a business that's sustainable in Washington, D.C., but when I bring it to New York, it'll collapse because it's not a need for New York. So would you pursue that, or are you only interested in
So I only got about half of that. I think I should start by saying that I'm actually not an entrepreneur. I don't own a business. I work for an organization that supports manufacturing entrepreneurs. So people who are creating physical products. So I think what you asked, and Matthew, maybe you can help clarify, but I think what Jaritza asked was, does it matter? It's something about moving a business from DC to New York. Is that right?
No, like, does it matter if a business is only sustainable in a certain area compared to, you know, like a Wendy's that you can apply it anywhere in every state?
Did you get that?
Yeah. So you're asking, does it matter if a business, well, yeah, of course it matters. I mean, I think that if you, like, we live in a pretty mobile society, so we need to understand what businesses need if we want to attract other businesses. I don't believe in business attraction as a sole economic development strategy. As an entrepreneur, obviously, I think people start businesses where they are, and so we need to, as economic development practitioners, we need to be able to support the businesses that want to start, and then I guess support them if they want to move there. So if the strategy of a certain city is to attract a biotech firm or manufacturing firm, they need to be able to support the kinds of businesses that they want to see. I think you might have lost Jaritza.
Oh, I just didn't have the camera on.
Oh, okay, cool. That's fine.
He paused me, but yeah. I'm here.
Sorry. All right. So with that, I'm gonna ask you a question now. How do you personally view success?
How do I personally view success? I think that's a really hard question. I think success comes from feeling fulfilled by what you do and feeling like a certain amount of security from it as well. So, you could really enjoy your work, but if you're not making ends meet, then you're not going to be sustainable. You're not going to feel secure and probably not going to be able to do what you want to do. So from an entrepreneur standpoint, for example, like if there's not healthcare available for what you're doing and you don't feel secure in that, you're going to have to go look for another job to either create that sort of level of security for yourself, or just quit altogether because you need to have healthcare, for example. Access to capital would be another one. But so I would define success as, feeling safe and secure and fulfilled by what you're doing.
Definitely. Jaritza, would you like to ask the next question?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
So that kind of plays into my second part of the question. Now that I know that you're an organization, that you work for an organization, I guess my real question is, if you don't believe in the organization, do you still find, like, if they are improving the area or whatever, do you still find it successful to yourself that you're working for the organization? Like, or do you still find self-fulfillment through working for an organization that you may or may not 100% believe in? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I have the privilege of 100% believing in my organization and what we do. So I'm really lucky in that way. Yeah, I mean, success means different things to different people. So maybe someone just wants to. I think it's totally. I'm a millennial, and so a lot of us believe that you can only be truly happy if you're following your passion. And I actually think that's kind of a setup for failure. a setup to be disappointed. And I think, you know, if someone is finding purpose and, you know, and their job is just fine, and they're getting a nice paycheck, and they're, you know, able to do other things in their life because of that paycheck or because of what they decide to do for work, then that's 100% legitimate. I don't think you have to believe. I think if you're an entrepreneur, you believe 100% in what you're doing, or else you'll never make it. But I think if you work for a job that pays the bills and gets you where you want to be in other parts of your life, then that can be defined as success too.
Of course. So,
Totally.
So, with my previous question on how do you view success, I'm going to ask kind of the opposite now. How would you view a failure? Is it like financially, or is it more of like a moral thing for you?
For me, probably both. Failure is tough. I've failed at lots of things. I think failure is just part of the deal. If you become a more resilient person the more you fail, and the more you're able to like realize that it's not a reflection on who you are, but a reflection on what you did. And hopefully you're able to take away some lessons learned from that. And so even if you are to fail again, maybe you fail in a different way. But I think the most important thing for myself to remember about failing is that it's not a reflection on who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that something happened that was maybe out of your control, or you did make mistakes, but that it doesn't define you.
Definitely. Jaritza, would you like to ask your personal question now?
Yeah. Do you see how you just mentioned, you kind of touched on how you have to kind of believe in it. Now,
Mm-hmm. Are you here, Jaritza? I think she's frozen. I'll just ask my personal question now.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Cool. Don't worry about it.
When did you first find your passion, and what were your first steps taken to form your organization?
So before I worked for this organization, I was in politics, so campaign politics. I worked on a bunch of political campaigns and worked for a company that ran political campaigns all over the country. Mm-hmm. And that's when I really found my passion to sort of around supporting local communities. Mm-hmm. So I really liked the smaller campaigns because the people who were running for office I found to be very authentic and thoughtful and really wanting to make a difference in their community. And when I was doing that, I didn't really understand that economic development was an area of work. Like, it was never part of my schooling. I didn't really recognize it. And so when I got out of campaign politics, I found the organization I work for now, the Urban Manufacturing Alliance. So I didn't found it. I was one of the first employees. And so I've been in the position to help it grow and sort of shape it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't found it. Sorry, well, can you repeat your question? I totally lost it.
No problem. So my question was when you first found your passion, and what were your first steps taken to form your organization? But you kind of elaborate, touched on them.
Right. Okay, so I found my passion in politics and then was able to transfer that sort of love of community development and community organizing and supporting other people into this job. And so the first steps, sorry, I'm getting over a cold. The first steps that they took to found it was they were actually, UMA was founded by two other organizations who came together to create a space for manufacturing practitioners to talk to one another. So it didn't exist. They sort of found this gap in the marketplace, you could say, if you're talking an entrepreneur language. They found the gap in the marketplace, and they created this organization to fill that gap so that people, so say someone in Brooklyn was doing something really innovative around workforce and manufacturing, they wanted to be able to share that with the rest of the country so that people could learn and replicate without, starting from scratch and recreating the wheel. So that's how it was founded. And then I'm able to sort of work within our network. We have a network of about 900 practitioners. So I'm able to sort of navigate the practitioner and the membership group to help them connect to one another.
Jaritza, do you hear me? Okay, so would you like to ask your person a question now?
Did you hear the last one or no?
No, we didn't get to hear it. You cut off.
Okay. So then she said that she works with professionals in the medical industry, for practitioners. And my goal in my life is to open up a wellness center in the Dominican Republic, which is the third world country. So I guess for her, as someone that works with organizations that have practitioners, how much resources do you with like how this is would be what get through American organizations.
Did you get to hear that, or was it kind of cut off?
Yeah, I couldn't hear it.
Can you repeat that again, Jaritza? Couldn't really hear it. Bad connection.
I'm gonna text it to you. Hold on. I'm gonna text it to you.
Okay. So with that, I'll ask another one of my personal questions. What do you think were the most difficult parts of joining your organization, or was it like something that you just enjoyed so much that you didn't really like? You got through the hard times with little effort.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I was really fortunate to come in sort of at the ground floor of the organization when it first started. And so I was able to sort of create the job that I wanted to do, which is really lucky. With any job, there are just really boring, annoying parts. And we're a really small team. And so we all do that. There's only 3 of us who run the organization. And so we sort of have to wear all the hats all the time. And that means sometimes it's going to be really not very fun or glamorous, like lots of calendaring and lots of, admin stuff and all of that, which isn't really my cup of tea, but you just kind of have to do it and get through it in order to make the organization successful. And so you can actually do what you like to do.
Of course. Jaritza, are you here?
Yeah.
Did you text me a question?
Yeah, I'm sending it right now.
Okay. So I'll ask another question. How important is it to have an ecosystem that can be applied regardless of the location?
Yeah, that's the one that I wanted to ask earlier.
Yeah, that was Jaritza's first question. Yeah, I mean, I think, for a really long time, I think, and still currently, like, economic development has really focused on attraction and like stealing companies from one place to another. And I think as you move towards a more ecosystem building approach around economic development, the less that's going to happen, because the more interconnected places are going to feel. So it's not to say that companies won't move to new locations based on incentives or different like areas of expertise. Like if there's a university or, something that's attracting that they need for their workforce, maybe that they'll still want to move. But I think that the whole idea of ecosystem building is creating a network, so creating connections and creating relationships. And once you like start doing that, I think you're less inclined to try to like take from other communities. And so I think applying a broad ecosystem, like regionally or nationally or internationally even, like will end up making us more communicative and more collaborative, and hopefully sort of end this cycle of a race to the bottom incentives of trying to steal one company from one community to another.
Definitely. Okay, so Jaritza sent me her question, so I'll ask it for her. She's interested in creating a wellness center in the Dominican Republic, and since that's a third world country, and as someone who works for an organization with practitioners, how difficult is it to help them with their economical status? Because of their economical status.
Jaritza, you're trying to create a wellness center? So by practitioners, do you mean like medical practitioners?
Yes, I think that's.
We're speaking mentally, physically, and sexually.
Yeah.
Like health practitioners. All wellness all around.
Yeah, she's referring to like the medical practitioners.
Yeah, so when I say practitioner, I mean people who are in economic development, who are practitioners of economic development, not medical practitioners. So I don't feel totally like I'm able to answer that question. I'm sorry.
Okay. Did you get that, Jaritza?
Yeah. So then, if that's the case, what do you guys do? So you guys just gotta help them better their economy.
Are you acting like what her organization does, like specifically?
Yeah, do they help the goals to the better?
So I think she's asking like specifically like what does your organization specialize in?
Okay. Yeah. So UMA is a coalition of people who are supporting manufacturing businesses. So it's people at economic development agencies, workforce organizations, community-based groups like maker spaces or commercial kitchens, people at faith-based institutions, funders, real estate developers, anyone who's providing a service for a manufacturer or a maker can be a member. And then what we do is we do a lot of research and storytelling. So we'll partner with other organizations to help them understand a specific aspect of their community or of their manufacturing businesses. And then we'll tell those stories to a national level so other people can learn from them. And then we also like do events, and we do both online and in person. So we'll do like webinars or Zoom hangout calls, or we'll do like big conferences where all of our members get together to learn from one another.
Definitely. So I'm kind of curious, since you said you joined like on board as an employee in your organization at the early stages, right? So was there ever a point where you had like the responsibility or like sort of like a partnership where you had to seek revenue or like investment, so to speak, like, and what was that process like?
Yeah, so we don't have investors so much as we are always looking for grant opportunities. So like we have to do a lot of research and grant writing for large philanthropic organizations. We also do a lot of work for sponsorships around our events. Yeah, we're basically fundraising all the time. It's a little bit different than like if an entrepreneur was fundraising, but it's the same concept of like always having to struggle to get that next round of capital or whatever you'd call it as a, as an entrepreneur.
Definitely. Do you have another question, Jaritza?
Everything, but I just have a question for her personally. As far as since you work for an organization, which is easier, entering a business that's already running and just helping them with their seminars, or starting a business from the bottom up, like getting everything together to begin.
Did she ask if it's easier to start working in a business that's existing versus starting from the ground up?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's way easier to start working for a business that's already existing for many reasons. I mean, depending on the level of it, like its success or its age or whatever. I think, the real benefit for working for like an organization that I work for is that, there's not like the buck doesn't stop with me. Like the ultimate responsibility lays at the feet of our founders, of our executive director, and of our board of directors, because we're a nonprofit. And so there's a ton less risk for me as an individual to work for an organization than to go out and start something new and be that founder or be that executive director. So yeah, there's a lot less risk for sure.
So I want to ask like a personal question as well. So since you travel so much, how is it traveling like all over the world for your organization?
It's good and bad. So it's really amazing to see new places and meet new people. And, we have members all over the country and a couple all over the world. And so it's just so fun to see them and to like learn in place. So, it's one thing to read an article or have a conversation. It's another thing to visit it and see it for yourself and be able to ask people questions and really engage. But traveling is like a lot it sounds more glamorous than it is. Like, it's mostly waiting in airports and eating a lot of restaurant food and, you know, sleeping in unknown beds and whatever. And so, like, for a while it's really fun. And then after a while it's just kind of, especially if you're like not working for a major corporation who maybe it might be a little easier. You know, it's fun and worthwhile, but it can take a toll.
Definitely. Do you have any final questions for her, Jaritza? Okay.
Yeah.
You're kind of going in and out.
He's the word. That's it's, as he said, it's easier for a company that's already
She's having poor connection. I apologize for that.
Oh, that's okay. No worries.
So I'll probably ask my last question as well. So as someone, you know, who's experienced success within her organization, you know, starting from the beginning, or, you know, coming on early as an employee in your organization and, you know, rising up to the ranks, would you ever consider starting up, you know, a startup of your own one day, like after you've, you know, attained a certain level of success, or, you know, moral?
That's a great question. I would say the biggest thing I've learned from this experience is I would prefer to be like an intrapreneur rather than an entrepreneur. So someone who is innovating within an organization rather than starting my own. So I would say probably not. But what I loved about politics and what I love about this job is that I'm able to support other people in what they're doing and help them do it really well. And so I'm not really the kind of person who's interested in being at the front and in the spotlight, but rather supporting those who want to do that and who I believe in.
Definitely. Jaritza.
I texted you the question that I had to ask.
Okay, I'm going to ask it for her. So
if the business does not have a business ecosystem in place, but has the potential to be something bigger, do you still or is it more of a?
Did you kind of hear that, or should I repeat it?
Can you just clarify the second part of it?
Of course. So she basically asked if a business doesn't have the ecosystem but has the potential to, you know, be something big or have like a lot of potential in that certain space, is it worth pursuing? Yeah, if it's sustainable, is it still worth pursuing, do you believe?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that like part of creating anything, whether it's an organization or a business or a community, like ecosystem building is at the heart of it. So if you're able to sort of cultivate those relationships and create that trust between people, like that's going to serve you even beyond, like, even if your current idea fails or doesn't work. So, you know, I think ecosystem building is just about, in my opinion, is mainly about building relationships and being a decent human being and like treating people with respect and getting that, like building true relationships, not just transactional ones. So I think, you know, regardless of the outcome of your specific venture, like building relationships and creating that ecosystem and like doing it in a way that's very like non-transactional. Like if you are meeting people, like introducing them to each other without the expectation of anything in return, like that's going to give you a lot of power and a lot of earned trust to like build off of, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah, that does make sense. So then for you, the ecosystem is more about networking than the actual business.
Yeah, so to me, an ecosystem is more based on who is there rather than what they're doing. So, because organizations change, people quit, people move on, but like the more social and personal capital, like I don't really like to use the word networking because I think it like has this like kind of grimy sound to it. But it's like if you're able to like build real relationships and like real trust with people through like proving that you're there for them and proving that you're not just in it for like a certain transaction, like not quid pro quo relationships, but you know, real like interactions and favors and support and doing things for each other. Like I think that is like what will end up making you feel more successful and be more successful.
Definitely.
Okay.
So I'll wrap it up with the last question I have for you, because we don't want to take up too much of your time.
Okay.
What was the most memorable experience that you've had in your organization, or like an experience that, you know, made you look back and think, you know, I'm doing the right thing, or I'm really happy that I'm doing what I'm doing?
I think my favorite part of my job is our conferences, because it's like the one time a year where I get to see everybody that I work with, not just staff, but like our membership, and like the appreciation that they show for the conference and for UMA like really comes out from those experiences, and they just really appreciate it. It's like UMA provides the space for people where like a lot of our members, a lot of our practitioners feel very isolated in what they're doing, and so we're building that ecosystem for them of people who are like them that they can go then rely on and learn from and interact with and build those relationships that I was just explaining in my last answer. So the conferences that we host about yearly are probably like the most like feel good moments for me.
Definitely. Well, me and Jaritza, you know, would like to thank you for taking your time out, you know, your busy schedule to meet with us. It's been,
No problem.
you know, great pleasure talking with you, and, you know, kind of nitpicking at your philosophy in your mind.
Yeah, no, this was fun. Thanks for asking me the questions, and I hope are you both on vacation right now?
Well, she's on vacation, and since today is Rosh Hashanah, so we don't have school today or tomorrow.
Right. Well, Happy New Year.
Yeah, you as well.
Yeah, I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.